Alright, and hello, welcome to Cooking with Miss Rice. Today, we're going to be combining these lovely ingredients with some ground beef to make tacos. Who does not love a delicious taco? Am I right, guys? Alright, now I'm going to say that making tacos is a lot like making chicken noodle soup. Everybody's grandma has their own recipe. This is just one way you can prepare it. I've chosen a less spicy method for the friends that you have that maybe are on a little bit of the, shall we say, not as intense side. I will also not be using all of this onion. I chopped a little bit more than I needed for the amount of meat we'll be cooking today. So, while we are waiting to get things going, I'm going to go ahead and turn up the heat to 7 on the stovetop. I'm going to move these ingredients out of the way. And we are going to first mix the spices with beef. Now I've chosen a lean 90% 10% fat, and I'm doing a mixture of about, for 1 pound, about a tablespoon and a half of paprika, a tablespoon and a half of black pepper, and about 3/4 of a tablespoon of kosher salt. What can I say? I love kosher salt. And since in my recipe we're not adding a whole lot of other things, we want that salt to kind of help mesh the flavors together and really bring everything together. Now, you don't have to use your hands to combine all the ingredients. I like doing it because I feel it really gets the flavor throughout the meat. A lot of people are just fine sprinkling it on top after you throw the meat in. That's perfectly acceptable as well. However, I like to make sure everything is really, really good and mixed. There we go. That's looking pretty nice. And of course, it will get more mixed as we go along. Now, at this point of the process, you would go wash your hands. Lucky me, I'm wearing gloves, so I get to just change my gloves out. So we're just going to go take that off. Now, if we look at that lovely meat, you'll notice that there's still some chunks, so to speak, in there. That's perfectly fine. Now the pan is still heating up. I'll go ahead and move the camera over though. In a minute I'm going to add some oil, and we'll cook the garlic and onion first. Okay, and it's feeling fairly warm. Still need to get my gloves on, of course. I apologize for walking off. I had to find a spatula. I forgot to get one out. There we go. Alright, so checking again. That's starting to feel warm. So you're going to put maybe about a tablespoon of oil. You don't need to put in a lot. This is mostly to get things started with, and I guess this goes with 2 tablespoons. This is just to get things started with the onion and garlic. Yes, this is a non-stick pan. Again, sometimes you just add the oil and fats for flavoring's sake. Now, I'm not cooking all the meat today. The rest of this is actually for a in-person demo for my students. So that's part of why I'm not putting in. If I was cooking the full pound, I'd be putting in easily 4 tablespoons of garlic, because I'm a big fan of garlic. And I'd be putting in about half a cup of onions. I'm going to mince this around. And make sure everything browns nicely. I'll let you all just watch that deliciousness for just a moment. Make sure everything's zoomed in right. There we go. Let's just watch that for just a moment. Alright, looks like that is starting to brown nicely. So just move it around. I like to cook the onion and garlic until the garlic's starting to turn a little brown, because it is still going to be in the pan a little while with the meat. And I'll now just get a chunk of this meat, cook with this. And again, I'm not doing a lot. You need to get good grip on the pan. It really does not take long for meat to brown. And it's interesting because the onions, the onions and garlic are browning as well. But with onions, because of the high sugar content, it's really more caramelizing. The meat we're regularly burning because using it that way. It's kind of fun to think of it that way, really. Of course, you'll need to break it up as the meat cooks. The pan is admittedly a little more thick than I'm used to. Now, again, there are plenty of people who will tell you should put in maybe jalapenos with this, chili powder, and those are all excellent. The only thing I always caution folks whenever they're cooking is if you're cooking for people that are not within your family, do keep in mind your audience. Some people do actually have allergies to things like onion and garlic. Others have a dislike for it. Some people are very bad at taking spicy food, so you need to keep in mind what is spicy compared to what you consider spicy. Yeah, that's something a lot of people forget. Just because you don't think it's spicy doesn't mean it isn't spicy. This means you have a very good tolerance for such things. There we go. We're trying to get the bits broken up a bit more. There we go. Get a nice bit of taco meat going. And as you can see, we're getting a very low amount of fat coming out since I chose lean. Lean's generally healthier, although I will admit it's usually at least $2 more a pound. So if you don't mind draining the fat, it certainly isn't a bad idea to get the kind that has a little bit of higher fat. Just keep in mind you're getting less meat. So if you're fine with that, hey, it's perfectly tasty and delicious. Alright. And now we have some delicious, tasty, or maybe not nutritious, taco meat. So if you'll give me one moment, we'll just flip this around. Of course, really take it off the heat. I actually want the meat to sit there for just a moment longer. I'll actually go ahead and turn that right there. It's actually off. We don't need it melting since it's plastic. After this, you simply go and put it on the plate of your choice. Get a little tortilla. So I have, for example, a very lovely corn tortilla. Put it on there with your favorite cheese, maybe some salsa. I always suggest salsa as a wonderful alternative to doing straight up super spicy taco meat, because then people can decide their level of heat. So there we go. One delicious taco. Enjoy and bon appetit.